Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, there's a growing demand for implementation of NRC in Manipur. The United Naga Council and the Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity, or the COCOMI, have joined hands to demand implementation of NRC in the state. The COCOMI and UNC have cited alleged rising influx and a change in demography in some parts of the state for the NRC implementation demand. The COCOMI and UNC leaders expressed concern over the quote-unquote influx from Myanmar and other parts of the country in the state. This, they said, is causing a demographic imbalance. In fact, it has also been claimed that illegal villages have come up in some of the districts like Chandel, Churachandpur, Kangpokpi, Farzol and even Thangnopal. So is NRC the answer to the issues raised? Is the situation really alarming? To discuss this, I will be joined by Khuraijam Athoba, Executive Member, COCOMI, R.K. Samarjit, spokesperson, BJP, both from Imphal. UNC President Ko John will also join me from Dimapur. But very quickly, before we go, let us listen into what the COCOMI leaders had to say yesterday when they met the CM and also made the demand for the NRC.
We have submitted a joint memorandum by COCOMI and UNC to the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur in the matter of influx of illegal immigrants and migrants and its impact to demographic imbalance and further consequences. And in that memorandum, we mainly mention to update National Register of Citizenship and to establish a Manipur State Population Commission as soon as possible so that scientific data and information can be collected, and further it will be essential and helpful to update this NRC of Manipur State. And many villages are increasing and have been mushrooming in the specific hill districts of Manipur. These villages are established by the illegal immigrants coming mainly from Myanmar. So we appeal to the government to check such increase of unreasonable villages in the specific hill districts of Manipur. In some 5 hill districts, namely Chandel, Thangnopal, Kangpokpi, Churachandpur and Farzol. In Chandel district, number of villages is 269, whereas number of unrecognized villages are 205 in Chandel district only. And in Thangnopal district, total number of villages are 168, whereas the number of unrecognized villages are 130. And in Kangpokpi also, total number of villages is 570, whereas the number of unrecognized villages are 304. And in case of Churachandpur, the number of villages are 547 and the number of unrecognized villages are 281. In the district of Farzol, also number of total villages are 70, and out of these 70 villages, 14 are unrecognized villages. Our main concern is demographic imbalance caused by the illegal immigrants and migrants from different.
Those are some of the figures put forward by the COCOMI leaders yesterday, who along with the UNC are demanding the implementation of NRC in Manipur. I am being joined by Khuraijam Athoba, COCOMI leader. Welcome, Mr. Athoba, to Northeast Live. Welcome to Bottom Line. Well, is the situation that serious in Manipur? First comments.
Navrun, situation is not just serious, but it is, it is very alarming. And, even for us, it is very late. However, even though it is late, I think this is the last time where we can, reverse our, demographic condition. If we don't do it now, then it will never happen again in future, and it will become irreversible for us. So I think we need to be very serious in this matter.
So is the concern mainly over influx from Myanmar? Is that the biggest concern?
No, actually, yes, Myanmar is also one of the key concern, and above that, Bangladesh is also another concern for us. See, Naprun, the context here in Manipur is quite different, little bit different from Assam. When the NRC was exercised in Assam, their main, concern was the influx from Bangladesh. But in case of Manipur, it is from Myanmar as well as Bangladesh and from Nepal as well. Uh, you know, uh, uh, Subsequently, for the last 4 or 5 decades, the state government hasn't, taken this matter seriously, and because of their, negligence, while taking care of the influx population as well as establishment of, new villages, the level of village expansion and population expansion in the past 50 years is totally, completely unnatural. Because when you look at the demographic structure of the Meiteis and the Nagas, the 20 tribes of Nagas, ethnic tribes of Naga, they hardly has increased, maybe in 10 to 20 numbers. Maybe 20 or 10 or 20 villages has been increased in the past 20, 30 years time. But on the other side, where the other groups like the cookies, so-called cookies, and the Muslim villages, there are more than 900 villages unrecognized. More than 900 villages has been increased, and the state government didn't even notice. It is now only we get to know very lately. So I think we are not going
I'll
anywhere
come back to more
unless.
of that. When did you find that out? Because from Manipur, we never had much talks of influx. Of course, the state got inner line permit just a couple of years ago. Definitely, there was a big boost. But this is something, yes, the demand for implementation of NRC was there in the past, but not as strong as it has been this time. We are also being joined by Mr. R.K. Somarjit, BJP leader, spokesperson. Welcome, Mr. Somarjit, to Bottom Line. Well, there's a concern being raised by the COCOMI and the UNC, sir, that there is in a way unabated influx to Manipur, and that NRC is the need of the hour. We'll come to the NRC part later, whether NRC is the solution to this or not. But what about the allegations of influx? Hasn't the government been in the knowledge of things? And they're also talking about scores of illegal villages. The influx from Myanmar is a concern, from Bangladesh and Nepal, as the COCOMI leader here is saying. What will be your first response to that, Mr. Somarjit?
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Goswami. I would like to take no more time, but my suggestion and my submission to this August discussion, I would like to say that in the state of Manipur about this matter, relook and redefine Manipur looking back to the pre-merger era should be look back. Otherwise, it will be not sufficient to say like that. Therefore, it is very, very important. We should look pre-merger area of the status on those days, how many peoples are inhabited in here, and with that concern, how many indigenous communities, peoples, including all communities in the hills and in the valley, are how many are there should be understood first of all. After that, we can consider and we can talk thoroughly about the matter, because we are in the position of a very so many problems created during these past 20-30 years. We are neighboring with Myanmar and Bangladesh. Nepal is a little bit far away from us. However, from these three countries, all these illegal migrants are come to Manipur, and they started, even though they are started for human rights, after having fake voter list, and after having Aadhaar card, they are demanding their separation of land, etc., autonomous demand. As a whole, as a Manipuri, as a whole in Manipur, it is very important to see the matter and look after the matter by
So
the
are you
GOI, so
admitting,
that they will see it.
Are you admitting, Mr. Samarji, that influx definitely is a major issue in Manipur? Are you admitting that influx is a problem in Manipur, as has been raised?
Yeah, I admit that influx is a very, very big issue in the state of Manipur. You know, so many borders, porous borders are lying there without any safeguard of the BSF, either or the Indian Army or state police. Certain influx and illegal migrants are coming from the neighboring state of Myanmar, the country. They come not directly to us, however, they come pass through away from Mizoram to Chorchanpur. Some are coming from certain area, even from the Ukhrul area side, and they influxed in here. And in the meantime, western side of our big brother Assam state, where certain area where porous they are also illegally migrated Muslim from the Bangladesh. Nepal is a very bit far away. However, they are also doing the same manner pass through away from Bengal, Bihar, and in Nagaland, Assam, and then Manipur. This is a situation we have so far seeing this. Therefore, it is very, very important before NRC or before this, delimitation, before this census, whatever it is there. Mr. Goswami, in the year of 2011 is the census era of Manipur. Every 10 years is a census in India. However, our census is incomplete by that time also, because inflation is coming up sky high at the rate of 45%. Would you please trying to know it that if in this world every sort of inflation comes every 10 years, or maybe increase of the population, but hardly it is a maximum of 17% to 20%. However, I am exemplary say that in the district of Senapati now it is segregated, and in the district of Chandel, particularly some part of the Chorchanpur district, from these three districts, certain influxes are coming, and the increase of the number is at the rate of 45%. Is it possible? During this modern era, GPS global system position is there.
I would like
within 10 years, how many?
Okay, we have been connected over the phone by UNC President Khojon, who is joining us over the phone. Mr. Khojon, welcome to Bottom Line, welcome to Northeast Live. You along with the COCOMI, the UNC along with the COCOMI has raised the demand for the NRC. How serious is the situation, and especially in the hill districts, which are the vulnerable areas according to you, and how has been the increase in population, if you can let our viewers know, Mr. John? Okay, we have lost the line. They will try to connect him again. Khuraija Matoba, when it comes to influx from Myanmar, we can understand we have a porous border. Manipur shares a porous border with Myanmar. Fencing work is yet to be complete. There are issues. We are facing insurgency issues because of the porous border. But if we talk about Bangladesh, or even as you mentioned Nepal, well, Manipur has the ILP in place. How are people entering? I mean, I can understand if it's a porous border from Myanmar, you cannot stop people from entering. But when it comes to countries like, say, Nepal or Bangladesh, yes, with Bangladesh also, I do understand there can be certain areas, especially Manipur shares a big border with Assam. Yes, there are vulnerable areas, but still there can be no excuse for that sort of influx. Otherwise, what is the use of having mechanisms like the ILP in place?
ILP implementation of ILP in Manipur is very recent. It was in the year 2019.
Yes.
So it's just 2
20s,
years
what
back.
about the 80s? Therefore, I should say
What we are talking is about,
I
you
mean,
know,
we look
before
or
ILP,
redefine Manipur
and
from
ILP
the
are being
merger,
checked
before the
and
merger
regulated
status.
only at
Otherwise, you
the
cannot find it.
entrance
If
gates,
you find it at there,
only
how
at
many
the
villages are
regular
there
Okay,
entrance
on
Mr.
those
gates.
days in
Samarjit,
1950,
Mr. Samarjit,
51,
I'll come to
and how
you.
many peoples are there?
Yeah, Mr. Samarjit, I'll come to you just in a minute, sir. And Kojon is again connected with us. Athoba, I'll come to you also back in a minute. Mr. Kojon, UNC President, joining us from Dimapur. Welcome to Bottom Line. Well, the UNC along with the COCOMI demanded the NRC, implementation of NRC in Manipur, which according to you are the most vulnerable districts. What has been the increase in population and how serious is the situation, Mr. John?
Pardon? Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, I'm saying how serious is the influx problem in Manipur according to you that has forced you to demand the implementation of NRC in the state?
In Manipur, the system is very loose. Okay. Hello?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
The system is very loose and everybody is free. So therefore, any Tomengek in hurry can enter Manipur and stay. And in that way, because of which in that way, this influx, through this influx, these migrants and illegal immigrants have become, what to say, it has become a great threat to the indigenous natives in everything. So in that way, we feel that this will take it very serious.
Situation very serious. What will be your next step? What will you have already demanded the NRC? Are you going to press for it further? Will we see a possible movement if there is no response from the government?
No, we'll pressure the government to implement this national registration citizenship. We'll ask the government to implement this act. So in that way, because this ILP will not help in this regard. So therefore, this national registration of this citizenship will be much effective. So in that way, we will pressure the government to implement that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Kojon, President UNC, for speaking to us on Bottom Line. Coming back to you, Kuraija Motoba, yes, you were saying that ILP has been there for just 2 years and probably a lot of influx had taken place much before that. Is that what you're trying to indicate?
Yes, and above that, ILPs are being checked only in regular entry and exit gates. Whereas Manipur shares an international border with Myanmar not less than 390 kilometers, and the entire borderline is porous. So whenever there is a situation in the neighboring Chin state of Myanmar, then the entire population just enter to the state of Manipur without any proper regulations or without any proper checking, and this continues for the last 4-5 decades. In the year during 1960s, we under the decision with the decision of the union government, we have already received and adopted so many refugees from Myanmar. After that, it again continues, and today the main issue is Navrun. Say like our state government don't have, not just state government, even the central government, like border affairs are not controlled by the state. Border affairs are being controlled by the home ministry and Assam Rifles in Manipur, and we don't know what mechanism they apply to check the movement of population across the borders. We really don't know. And today, what happened is that the present law of the land, the Constitution of India itself, they fail to protect and protect the rights and privilege of the indigenous people above those Myanmaris who entered to Manipur under illegally and who bribed certain corrupt officials and got become the citizen of the state overnight. Once they become the citizen of the state overnight by any means, they are more rightful than the indigenous people like us. They will be, considered as a scheduled tribe community, and they are being protected. They have been given the free movement to the forest areas of the hills, and they are being given
But
the
how
free
are
land
they
to
securing the
farm.
documents? How are they securing the documents? Anyone can cross the border, yes. There is no denying to that. So
That is
is
what
there
I'm
something
telling.
really wrong with the entire system going by that claim?
There were certain instances and news reports where in the border town More, the local people, the local officers were providing, making Aadhaar card, then they entered the state with a false Aadhaar card. And once they entered the state, the local people, the local leaders of the neighboring villages, like neighboring districts like Tengnopal, Churachandpur, and Chashad regions of Ukhrul, they are the one who is very vulnerable, and the local leader seems to be adopting and inviting them to come to Manipur and settle here, and they used all possible means to convert them as a bona fide citizen of the country of India. And once that happens, they are building up a population. Now they started claiming homeland. They started, writing new histories, overwriting the 4,000 years old histories of Manipur.
These are
Now
points,
they are claiming
these are
so
very
many things
sensitive,
that are exaggerated.
sensitive points.
And
These are. RK
and
Samarjit,
Nabrun, one last point,
yeah,
Nabrun.
yeah.
And the most unfortunate part is we are seeing certain Indian military personnels, not below the rank of brigadier, giving false narrative to the, certain issues like the Kuki rebellions are being, propagated as Anglo-Kuki war. Recently, we have come across a textbook. We have come across a book written by one colonel, retired Vijay Shinje. He just wrote a book called Anglo-Kuki War, 1917 to 1919, which really never
We
took place,
we
and the
take
history
that
of Manipur never had any
we
such
take that
record
as
of Anglo-Kuki war.
we take that as his personal view. Of course, that calls for another discussion. These are sensitive topics.
No.
That calls
My point
definitely
is-
calls for another discussion.
my
I get your point.
my
I
point
get
is-
your point. The change of demography that you are trying to indicate. I get your point. RK Samarjit, but again, do you think NRC is the solution? Is NRC the solution? Can NRC be a part of the solution? We have seen what happened in Assam. Yes, there was an NRC exercise. Questions are being raised over that. We'll not get much into that. But again, what after the NRC? We have not yet decided what to do with the people whose names are not in the NRC. So in such a situation, is NRC the situation, is the solution? Again, won't you agree that it's the state government in coordination with the center which has to step up measures immediately to ensure whatever alleged anomalies are there have to be rectified? It's not an easy process. The Northeast as a whole, Assam in particular, is still battling with influx, trying to tackle it. It sometimes seems like a lost battle, to be very honest, but nevertheless, steps are being taken over the last decade or so. Things are also improving to an extent. But having said that, can NRC be the solution? Probably not, or probably yes. We cannot really say until it happens, until things reach their logical end. But in the meantime, what can the government do to ensure that there is no rapid influx as is being alleged?
Mr. Goswami, NRC is the only reason. Whatever you say, I accept it. However, you please look into the matter very seriously. It is an example when Rohingya Muslims were arrived to Bangladesh from Myanmar, and very few, 1 year, certain Rohingya Muslims are go to Srinagar and Kashmir on those days, and their brotherhood say that they are belonging to Kashmiri. No, a single person, even a married Kashmiri, are not allowed to entertain in the Kashmir valley. And how, in the name of God, these 92,000 Rohingya Muslims are became a citizen of India and come to Kashmir? Because these are the negligence, certain negligence of the government of Manipur as well as the central government. If they look into the matter very seriously and do it in a right way, NRC is the only solution. By the way, and I am telling you, you see, we are culturally, so many indigenous people are having in memorable times for the last 2000. It was effected only in 2057 up to 2085, and then very recently in the year of 2018-19, then today itself. That is why we are trying to have at least yardstick to provide a very necessity action taken by the central government as well as the state government. People say that we are too Indian.
So you admit,
also BJP
R.K.
government,
Samarjit, you admit,
BJP government.
R.K. Samarjit, you admit both the state and the center have a lot to do, still a lot to do as far as influx is concerned, including Manipur.
Yeah, otherwise classes will be, small classes will become a big inferno. You know, certain area people are, I as a Manipuri went to the mountain, these people who are living at there, illegal migrants, are saying that this is not your land. You should take permission from the Gaongbura. Is it possible as a Manipuri if I take permission for these people? This is also a kind of small things. I am not particularly mentioned in that area, in that incident, but the question is, I mean, human rights people started again and then they dominate. This is the point. Very serious matter is human right, and they demand. In fact, these cards of Aadhaar card and voter list, fake voter list, became a citizen of Manipur in the state of Manipur. I frankly speaking, not today itself.
See,
for the last 25-30 years,
we can,
this harboring,
we
this is harboring.
We can go on saying this.
We have not blame to any government.
R.K. Samarjit, we can go on saying this. When we are in opposition, when we are in government, probably we ought to do. I'm sure the government under Chief Minister N. Biren Singh is doing its bit. Khuraija Mathoba, what will be your next course of action?
No, my honorable Chief Minister work hard like anything and do something for it. But the question is, if the central government should not intervene, and the state government will oblige the matter in a systematic way, within 1 month we can also solve it. The question is willingly to do it, and somebody behind the screen do something is the worst part of our citizens have not settled in the matter.
Willingness holds the key. Willingness holds the key, says R.K. Samarjit. Khuraija Mathoba, last comments. What will be your next course of action if this thing doesn't move forward?
See, Navrun, things is not very as simple as that, because Manipur, by demography, Manipur is very, heterogeneous in character. So we need to look into all the, interest of all the ethnic communities, who are settled here. However, our next line of action will be, number one, we have already apprised the state government, submitting a memorandum. Following that, we will pursue with the Prime Minister as well as the Home Minister of India. And after that, we will also pursue with all the other remaining ethnic communities, including those who comes under the nomenclature of, Kuki communities. The word Kuki itself is a very new, newly coined term used by the British in the 20th century. And, it is very vague in character. So we will pursue those communities who dream and who look forward and who consider themselves as a citizen of Manipur and nothing else. And there are also people inside the same community who consider themselves as a Myanmar national, who is actually a Myanmar national, who has a candidature, stood elections in Chin state of Myanmar, and
No,
still becomes a leader here in
we
Manipur.
cannot possibly
So,
name an entire community for that. Yes, there are
yeah,
individuals
so we
which
need to
can be, no
segregate.
denying the fact, but definitely
Yeah, we need to
we.
segregate. We need to segregate these communities as well as, and we will pursue one after another so that we can only
And
tackle
while
with
doing
the
that,
illegal
we
immigrants.
need
We
also to
can tackle
respect.
only with the
While
illegal
doing
immigrants
that,
and not the original settlers.
we also need to respect every genuine citizen of Manipur and
Exactly.
India. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Kuraj Amthoba, for your views, perspective. Thank you so much, Mr. R.K. Samarjeet. I'm sure the government of the day will start finding a solution to the issue.